So today's day 652 of my sobriety journey. Some of you may think like, why do you count? What does it matter? And it really matters because I've learned through my fitness journey, through anything, is that every day matters. Every day counts. And there's always something to celebrate. And when you're trying to do something that is hard or is a challenge, and you could easily get off course, it's so important to focus on each achievement. So getting through every day sober is an accomplishment. I remember when I didn't even think that I could get sober. I remember thinking that like 3 months of sobriety or 6 months of sobriety was impossible. And once I got past 1 year, I was like, wow, I'm doing this. I'm really doing this. And now I'm coming up on my second year. And this month is actually the anniversary month of when I basically had a complete mental breakdown, and voluntarily checked myself in to a mental health facility. And, I was thinking today when I was talking to my friend Melissa about how far I've come and how much I have accomplished in 2 years. And, people have always said, wow, I can't believe you talk about these things so openly. Well, I do, because it's helped other people. Melissa and I were talking today, and she made the decision in September of 2016, 11 months after I got sober, to get sober. And there are so many other people out there that have gotten sober because they've watched my journey. They've heard what I said. They've reevaluated their life. And so, I was somebody who was running from pain, and I was running from my past. And if I can give somebody else some peace of mind or some belief that they can do it, then I'm going to share it. And it holds me accountable. A lot of people don't like to be held accountable. A lot of people don't like constructive criticism. A lot of people don't like to be reminded of anything that they've done in the past that's wrong. And, I do, because not to beat myself up because I'm a martyr, but because it reminds me of where I was, and it also keeps me, you always have to remember where you came from or where you have been, or you'll easily go back there. And it also helps me really see the progress I've made. I mean, in 2 years, I've made huge progress, and I couldn't have done it if I hadn't had the support from everybody who's been watching my journey, who's been sharing their stories. And the greatest thing is I have so much support. Like, I weekly become friends with 2 or 3 different other sober moms, sober women who get this struggle. And the one thing that Melissa and I were talking about today was the fact that we're like, it's so mind-boggling to both of us. Like, how did we ever party and drink as heavily as we did and manage our business, our kids? And, the truth is, obviously, probably not well. We were doing the best we could with, the mental coping skills we had at the time. And, I don't blame ourselves, because that's something we carried from, young adulthood, teenage years on, and we have had to learn to flip the script, change things. But, I'm like, how did we ever have time for that? Because now it's like 9:30 on a Friday or Saturday night. Her and I are both like chilling, relaxed, ready to go to bed. And I'm like, how did I ever stay up partying? And, the one thing I thought was, when I was a teenager, I'm like, we would party and stay up for days and, do drugs and drink. And I'm like, even in my 20s, I did that. And I'm like, well, maybe it's just the fact that I'm in my 30s and I'm, older and I can't party. And maybe that's it. But it dawned on me when we were talking is that for her, it's, she's coming up on her year sobriety anniversary. I'm coming up on my 2-year sobriety anniversary. Well, there was a reason we drank. We were trying to numb ourselves from everyday pains that everybody feels. We were trying to numb ourselves from stuff that, her and I talked about today. It's just some icky stuff that we just still have never talked about publicly because it just stings and it hurts. But, there's things that we're working through. And, when you stop drinking, you feel everything 100%. And so for me, like, my mind's always been racing all the time. It has to do with my anxiety, my, ADD, the fact that I've only used, for most of my life, had myself to depend on. So, now that, like, when you're mentally battling stuff, it's exhausting. I mean, everybody knows when you're stressed, when you're anxious, it just is mentally draining. And so, I, for decades, numbed myself to all this crap, and she did herself. And then now all of a sudden we have to face it 100%, that we have to feel our feelings. We have to tackle one thing at a time, and we've made some great strides, and no regrets. But like, that's what I realized. I'm like, I don't really think it's the age, and it's just the fact that like, I did have a break. It gave me that mental break. Drugs and alcohol gave me that break. That it gave me this mental escape from my pain and my suffering. Well, obviously that kind of lifestyle is not sustainable. And getting sober now, you have to face it. I posted the other day that you can half-ass your life all you want, but it's gonna catch up to you. And for me, it's catching up to me. Like, I now I have all the stuff that I had not dealt with, and like I said, I was just doing the best I could with what I had and dealing with it the way I always knew how. And I've had to relearn how to cope with things and face things. But that's the battle. Is like, it's so exhausting all the time to feel your feelings. So like, if you're drinking all the time and partying, like, ask yourself why. Like, what are you escaping from? And the biggest question is, when you're escaping it, is it still going to be there? And is it going to bite you in the ass if you ignore it for 5 years, a year, however long it is? But that's been the biggest thing for me, is like learning to face things 100%. And I told my life coach that I'm like, it's so weird. It's like, I literally feel like I was in a coma and like woke up, and I'm like, what is this life? And I'm having to figure out who I am, rewrite my whole life, because my whole life was based around partying. And if I didn't like something, if I was stressed out, there was always an answer. For, from 15 on was heavy drug use and alcohol use. And now I'm having to deal with that, and then figure out my fun, figure out who I am, figure out how to cope with things, and not jump back to old ways. And I've had some people reach out to me and support me, and I've also had other people tell me that this is ridiculous. These things are private, I should never talk about them, and that everybody has their problems, you should keep it to yourself. I disagree. This is my way, this is my therapy, because when I can give back and help others and connect with people, make them think about their life, or just knowing that I'm telling everybody. And if you ever see a picture of me out drinking, I want somebody to call me on that, because I need to be held accountable for my goals, for my, the things that I'm going for. So anyways, I just thought I'd give you an update. I wish I had done this more regularly throughout my journey. Now, as I'm writing my book, and kind of collecting my thoughts and my memories and these things, like, I'm like, dang, I wish I had have like blogged about this. I wish I had have done like more videos, and I've went live, and I've done stuff like that over the last 18 plus months. But I wish it had been more regularly to really track it, because I never had any intention of ever writing a book and sharing all these things. So anyways, if you ever need any help or support on your journey, please reach out to me. Somebody actually suggested the other day that I do like a group for fitness and getting sober. So if anybody's ever interested in that, let me know, because fitness has been a big part of my battle with mental illness, and how I got sober and how I've stayed sober.